we want you guys to think of this from the user's experience, from the website visitor's experience, okay? If I'm going in for a recipe for an appetizer, but you have this particular app that I'm looking for to make, you have it 5 clicks in, like I have to click on 5 different things in order for me to get to the recipe. Ask me if I'm ever going to get there.
Hey everyone, welcome to the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, where we celebrate the S.O.B that you are, and if you haven't figured it out yet, we mean small-owned business. We don't mean S.O.B.
Listen, we know that as a small business owner, you are working hard on the daily to keep your business fully operational while trying to promote it. And while some days it may feel like the business is owning you, if we're being honest with each other, I bet you would admit that you wouldn't give up the insanity for anything.
Our commitment here at the S.O.B Marketing Podcast is to give you the real talk, what works when it comes to advertising, marketing, promoting your business, and then what doesn't really work.
And Chelsea and I promise to always keep the conversation real.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the S.O.B Marketing Podcast, S.O.B as in small-owned business. I promise we are not calling you guys names. Before we get started, just want to say thank you for listening. If you haven't already followed us, make sure that you do that. Or if you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe. If you have any topics that you want us to talk about, please let us know. Or if you want to be a guest on the podcast, we absolutely bring on guests. We would love to have a conversation with you and see what knowledge you can bring to other small-owned businesses like yourself. So go ahead and send us an email at help@theseasonedmarketer.com, or you could send us a DM. You can leave a comment. We are always looking at that stuff, so we will not miss your message. Vivian, what are we talking about today?
Well, today, the topic of conversation is going to be the one, the only websites. And yes, you guys, listen, I know you're probably thinking, are websites even something we need to be doing in 2024? And Chelsea, what's the answer to that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Y'all, the amount of... I don't want to be heated this entire episode, but I want to say the amount of small businesses who are doing themselves a disservice by only using social media and not transferring or moving people over to their own platforms. Take back the keys to your kingdom. Take back your power. Move people from other businesses' platforms to your own.
Yeah, a website is one of the very few things that you guys have absolute, complete control of. Okay, so let's just remember that, because the thing is, yes, you can dump all of this effort and resources into building a really great Instagram profile. Same thing with Facebook, but at the end of the day, y'all, you don't control either one of those platforms, okay? The only thing you have 100% control over is the website that you build or the website that you have somebody build for you. And so that's just one of the reasons. We'll give you a couple more here in a second, but that's just one of the reasons that you do need to take a website very, very seriously. So Chelsea, I have a very interesting statistic that I think is going to blow a lot of people's minds. Okay. So, most people think, oh, if there's a small business, most of them have websites, right? What percentage would you guess of small businesses do not have a website?
Okay. As someone who is a part of the small business community, I want to say like 25% maybe.
27%.
No. See, okay, but as a consumer, let's think of it this way. As a consumer, if I'm looking into a small business and I can't find their website, like, how do I know they're a legit business?
Yeah, so this is what's striking to me is that means that a little more than 1 in 4 small businesses in the United States do not have their own website. And so what I'm guessing and what typically happens, I think, is maybe they're relying on a Google business profile, which we highly do recommend. We don't think you should rely on it, but we do want you to go in and to actually claim your Google business profile, because that means you will show up on Google Maps and all the things. We also want you to go out there and claim your Apple Maps listing, because those are two very different things. And for people that are on the iPhones, you want to show up in their maps as well. But you want to be able to have your own website to include in both of those profiles and in your Instagram profile, because it does legitimize you as a small business. I just think that it's shocking to me that 1 in 4 businesses, a little more than 1 in 4 businesses, just don't have anything of their own.
Yeah, I'm really glad you put it into that perspective, because, you know, when you say 25%, like 25 is like 1/4.
Yeah.
That doesn't, like, that sounds like a lot, but at the same time doesn't, you know what I mean? But when you say 1 in 4, like, that is significant, I think.
Well, think about all of the small businesses that you know off the top of your head in your local community. That means that for every 4 of them, 1 of them is just not taking the time to actually grow their presence. And so, Chelsea, where do you want to start this conversation with websites?
Let's start the conversation by not just saying a website will legitimize your small business. Let's talk about every way that a website is important, because it's more than just legitimizing, which is very important. I mean, that helps you build trust, and your consumers are more likely to trust you, but it also helps you increase visibility. Everyone Googles stuff. You want your website to appear. It will help you specifically with SEO opportunities. So if you really take the time to optimize your website, then it will show up more often when people Google stuff. That's great. That's so powerful. And my favorite one, which, if you guys know me at all, you know what I'm about to say, it helps you track your data, because data is so important, and it's the thing that's going to help you find out what works and what doesn't when it comes to your business's marketing. A website is a wonderful way and a great opportunity to understand your consumers. You can see, you know, who are my visitors? What web pages are they sticking on the most? You can track conversion rates. You can track visitors. It'll help you collect leads. Powerful stuff.
Yeah, I think for me, the lead collection is a big one. So this is the thing. When you talk about owning a small business, I find that what you're really looking for are golden opportunities to allow a platform or to allow something to do the work for you, right? So kind of like a set it and forget it type thing. If you have a website, you have an opportunity to set it and forget it when it comes to using a lead magnet. Like one of the ones, for example, that we use are quizzes. Okay, we have a course that we sell that's geared to craft fairs, people that are going to, and selling at markets and stuff. We've created a quiz that somebody can take to help them determine if they're ready to do this. That quiz that they take then asks them for an email address, which then we are then able to continue communication outside of just that one-time interaction. And I think it was, you know, the work we did was setting up the quiz, setting up the results, embedding it on our website. But now that it's there permanently, and we don't have to touch it. And it's just collecting leads for us, for people that may be good for that course. And so I think when you find opportunities like that as a small business owner, those truly are gems, because you're able to work smarter and not harder. And then also, Chelsea, like you said, the data is such a big thing. One of the fun or interesting things that I learned over the years is I came from healthcare industry. In healthcare back in the day, most people didn't, the doctors weren't big on like talking about themselves, right? But the one thing I kept noticing was that the most popular page on our website was the one that had the doctor information on it. And this was years ago. Okay. So it wasn't like it is now where it's like, you have a provider profile for every single thing.
Yeah.
Back then you didn't. And so I thought that was interesting, and it kind of made me perk up and pay more attention to that, because I thought, oh, wow, people are picking specifically based on looks, personalities, and education, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You know what I think is really funny? We just listed reasons why you should have a website, and we forgot the most important one, which is it's a place to put your products so that you can sell them, so you can sell more.
Well, no, and that's exactly it. Well, and what better way too? The product thing is really important. And let me connect the dots here. Chelsea mentioned earlier, it's good for search engine optimization. Okay.
Yeah.
So think about this. Let's say you sell candles. If you have a website, your own website, so let's say you sell TikTok shop, you also sell on Instagram, that's fine and great. But you also have your own website where you have all of your products listed, and you give somebody an opportunity to buy them on your website. For one, that's self-standing, right? And it's doing the work for you, even when you're not actively promoting on there. But each one of those products now gives you an opportunity to actually provide more information via the product description that will give you a boost in the search engine optimization world. And so essentially what that means is when somebody goes on Google, when somebody goes on Yahoo, if that's still a thing that people use, if they go on DuckDuckGo, whatever, I don't think DuckDuckGo is part of this whole SEO thing quite yet. I don't know. But so anyways, it is actually, it's able to crawl the interwebs and to say, oh, hey, you were looking for a candle that smells like, a Georgia farmer's market or a Georgia, peach orchard. Like, here you go. Here are all of the products.
South Carolina.
I know. I'm just making this up. But here are all the products that I found that match it. Yeah. And your product would likely be listed in there if you've put a good product description in there, right? That matches that query. And so it's full circle.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, and that comes back to SGE, which is Google's new form of searching the interwebs, which we did an entire episode on. I'm not going to get into it right now, but having a good product description is really going to help get your products in front of people when it comes to Google.
Absolutely. And also, I think one of the things we failed to mention too, Chelsea, is having a website gives you an opportunity to tell your story. Yeah. Okay. And you don't have to play by somebody else's rules. Okay, great. If I want to tell my story on an Instagram reel, then I got to do it in 90 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the thing is you have an entire platform that you can build to tell your story the way you want, whether you do that in a 10-minute video, whether you do that just from, a few paragraphs on a landing page, however that is, you have complete control of, how you're showing up for people. So I think that's really important. And then the services and the product portfolio part of it, it's such a great way to be able to just kind of like walk people through what your business actually does.
Yeah. I'm glad that you brought up, it's your opportunity to tell your story the way you want to tell it, because I'm sure there are some small business owners right now that are listening that are like, yeah, okay, that sounds great, but I know nothing about website design. I'm not computer savvy. I can't do this. Okay, first off, we are living in the digital age where everything is becoming easier.
Yeah.
Yes, you can hire a web developer, and we'll talk about that too. But you can absolutely build your own website. You do not need to be tech savvy. You do not need to know what you're doing, because so many of the platforms now, like Squarespace, they give you templates, they give you forms, they give you designs, like they take you through the entire thing to make it as simple as possible so that you can set it up the way you want to do it.
Yeah, and just because you do something now doesn't mean that you can't change it down the road. So the way I always, and y'all, I'm not giving you advice that I myself do not take, okay? Trust me, I do this. Sometimes what happens when I'm making a decision, I get overwhelmed because there's a lot to it. Okay. So let's say if I'm about to build a website, I'm like, oh my gosh, like there's just so many pages, so much I want to say. Like, how do I even go about organizing it? It is completely okay to say, I am going to get a website up now for what I needed to do today. And then I'm going to go back in and revamp it as I have time to do it.
Yes.
Interestingly enough, this is what I did with the Seasoned Marketers website. It's something that I created on my own. The website as it was 7 years ago has changed tremendously because as we added on resources, great, now I have a YouTube channel that has all of these videos. Okay, well, I found a way to embed that into the website. Great. Now we have a podcast. Now I have to go and add that to the website. So the other thing that I want to mention here is look at your website as a central hub for all the things and all the initiatives that you do. All right. So if you guys, great, you're using Instagram, install, if you want, go ahead and put a preview of your Instagram feed on your website, if that's a big part of like what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
So there are just so many different ways and opportunities that you can get something up and going depending on where you're at in your budget and where you are in your small business. If you're just starting the ideation, like I'm just taking this business from an idea to now bringing it to life, that's going to require a very different website than for a small business owner that's been in business 10 years. And has a solid customer base. Those are two very different websites.
Yeah. And I do want to say, if you personally do not want to do this and your budget allows you to hire someone, go ahead and hire someone. I mean, if you know that your time would be better spent doing some other initiative for your small business, kudos to you. You can hire a web developer. You can tell them what you want and they can create it for you. Prices will range anywhere from like $300 to $3,000.
I would say even go up further. Like I know some people that charge like the one that I'm hoping we're going to get to, because I already have in my mind the person I want to work with to redo our website. I think with them it was like right under 5,000, maybe like 4,000 or something. So I think it depends on what you're wanting, how many pages, what do you want it to do?
Yeah, exactly. And I do want to say, like, if you want an intricate website and you find someone that's going to charge you $300, do not use them. I just want to throw that out there. Like, if you are not creating your own website yourself because you want it to be really intricate and like you want to be able to schedule appointments and stuff like that, and the person is saying, oh, I can do that for $300, no, because they cannot reasonably do that for $300. Okay. Like
research is a very, very big deal. I agree with you there. And the recommendation that I have that helps with the research is, y'all, don't just get one quote. Ask a couple different people for a quote, right? So you want to have a solid idea of what you're expecting or wanting. So that way that's clear communication up front. You email the person or contact them and you say, hey, I'm looking for, for a website to be built. This is the industry that I'm in. This is the stuff I need it to do. This is about how I want the pages, like what pages I want included, and about us, schedule an appointment, a services, all of that. Have a clear view of that going into it, and then reach out to maybe 3 people. I think 3 to 4 quotes is adequate, because like Chelsea's saying, that's going to give you a feel for kind of like the price range, because you, like she said, if you want a whole lot of features in there, you don't want to go with the $300 option, because I could tell you that's going to be sketch, unless the person's like, hey, I'm just starting my business and I just want to do this for, so that you can, give me a client review or something. But
yeah, just thoroughly vet the people that you're going to work with, because if you are going to get someone to build a simple website for you, I'm gonna be honest, you could have done it yourself then. But again, I understand maybe that's not the best use of your time. Completely understand. Just know what you need, what works best for you, and what your budget allows.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to ask when you are getting these quotes or you're talking to somebody that potentially could be creating your website for you, ask them for their portfolio. Ask to see what they've done before in the past, because I think that's going to give you an idea of maybe what their capability is and their style and aesthetics. But any person that's worth their salt when it comes to website design is going to be able to give you maybe like 3 websites that they built or a few references, right?
Yeah.
So don't feel like, oh, well, I just don't know if they're gonna be a good fit for me, depending on the price, what they've done in the past, what their portfolio looks like, the websites they've built. Also, what your communication is with them. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I have heard some horror stories, and I'm not trying to deter anybody from hiring someone, but I've heard horror stories of people basically like, hey, yeah, I'll build the website. You start with the communication, and it's almost like they ghost you.
Yeah.
Like they'll, you don't hear back. Maybe you hear back 2 weeks later. They don't keep you updated. So it's important for you to ask these things up front, like, hey, what's your communication style? How will you be letting me know when the work is being done or what phase you're in of the project, right? How do you let me know that you've started creating it? How do you let me lay eyes on it so that I can start approving verbiage and pages? How do you let me know when it's done and it's ready to be piloted so that I can see it before we publish it?
Yeah.
Do you love making crafts and working on your small business but struggle to get them in front of customers?
Do craft fairs, events, or pop-ups leave you feeling overwhelmed or frustrated?
Introducing Rock Your Fair, the course designed to help you succeed in the world of craft fairs, pop-ups, and events, created by 2 marketing professionals with over 15 years of experience. Rock Your Fair is perfect for anyone who's new to the game or just wants to step up their game.
Our step-by-step approach will guide you through everything you need to know, from choosing the right events, to setting up your booth, to marketing your products effectively.
And you know what? You'll also get access to us for personalized coaching and feedback so you can put your best foot forward.
Do not let craft fairs, pop-ups, and events hold you back. Sign up for Rock Your Fair today and start rocking your way to success.
For a limited time, get access to our free mini course. Simply head over to our website at www.theseasonedmarketer.com and click on workshops.
Let's say you decide to build your own website. Let's talk about things that you need to pay attention to when it comes to building out your website. This one is a big one. Consistent branding. Y'all, I understand that it is fun to design stuff. To make it pretty, and you have all these font options and color options and all that stuff. You need to stay consistent with this stuff. You can't use 5 different fonts all across your website. Or maybe you can. If it works, look, the point is consistency is so important, specifically on a website, because that shows you that you're still on the same website.
And I will say I am guilty of this. Okay. Guilty as charged, you guys, because Chelsea knows not too long ago, I wanted a different homepage design on our website, and I went in and kind of redid it. And then I want to say maybe like a week later, I was like, yeah, that's not really our vibe. And it's not, branding wise, it's not in line with like everything else that's on the website. So I 110% understand how it can be difficult, and you kind of get that squirrel syndrome where you're like, I just want to change something or update it. And so I feel like, you end up sometimes making mistakes along the way. So it's okay, because you can always go back and change it, update it, refresh the look. And that's something that I definitely will be doing.
Vivian, let's talk about SEO, okay? Because this is, I know we already brought it up a little bit at the beginning of this episode, but this one is huge. Making sure that the content that you have on your website actually makes sense should actually be on your website. Like, it's not just random blog posts. I'm all for blog posts. I think blog posts are great. It's great for boosting your SEO. We have a blog. It's great. Make sure the content is relevant. No keyword stuffing, and make sure the content is relevant. So important.
Yeah, and keyword stuffing, for everyone that might be scratching their head as to what she means by that, is, let's say I were a dentist office and I want to rank for the word dentist in Columbia, South Carolina. And so back in the day, because when they would crawl the internet, they would be looking for the phrases that people were like Googling in there, right? It wasn't as intuitive as it is now. So what people started doing is they would keyword stuff by making sure that as many pages on their website had the word dentist in Columbia, South Carolina, as many times as possible. And so then what you ended up getting was just a lot of verbiage that didn't make a whole lot of sense, because like people were just trying to use that phrase all the time. And so what Google's doing now, and what these search engines, because they're using AI and they're just being, they're so much better at doing what they do now than they were years ago. Now they're like, they can tell if someone lands on a page and immediately like clicks off of it. Yeah. And so if you're doing keyword stuffing, you're actually going to be hurting yourself, because people are going to be clicking off of your website. And then the search engines could be like, oh, that website isn't good because no one's staying on it for more than 2 seconds.
I'm glad that you just said that. Y'all, if your website is slow, it's also going to really hurt you. Okay. So think about how Vivian just said, if people are clicking off of your website in like 2 seconds, then Google's going to ding you. They're going to be like, people don't like this website. If your website takes forever to load, so people are clicking off of it, that's going to hurt you. This is really interesting. According to Forbes, 47% of users won't wait longer than 2 seconds for a website to load.
You guys, that's half the people in this world. Yeah. They're not going to be waiting how many seconds?
2 seconds. More than 2 seconds.
Wow, y'all, what are we doing with all this extra time?
And 40% will leave a site if it takes more than 3 seconds to load.
Yeah, those numbers aren't good. Well, they're good in the sense that they indicate and they tell us something about website users. It means that website users have gotten so accustomed to being able to load a page quickly onto their mobile device or their laptop that they now aren't going to sit there while your website takes 10 seconds to load.
Yeah. Not doing it anymore. And I'm glad that you said mobile, because that's also a really big one. Make sure that your website is optimized for mobile. Think about how many people almost only use their phones at this point.
Yeah. And I don't want to scare anybody off, because listen, if you are in the camp of, great, Vivian and Chelsea, I don't have a budget right now that I can pay someone to build me a website, so I'm going to take a stab at it, and I'm going to do like let's say I sell digital products. I'm going to do a Shopify store, and Shopify has these templates, and so I'm going to use a template. If Chelsea just said, be sure that it's mobile friendly, and you're like, how do I even go about doing that? Like, I have no freaking clue how do I revamp my website for that, or what considerations, what do I physically need to do in the template? The good news is, you guys, y'all practically don't have to do anything. You want to know why? Because if you're using a Shopify template, if you're using a Wix template, if you're using a WordPress template, most of these are already doing that automatically on the back end. They've coded the template so that it will reformat your page to look good on a mobile phone. And the way that you can check this out is usually within the template, somewhere in there, there's going to be a place that you can toggle between seeing your website on a mobile phone or seeing the website on a laptop version of it.
Yeah.
So if you have that option and you can toggle between those two to see what it looks like to preview it in that way, it means the template's doing it for you. So don't be thinking that you have to go to coding school or anything like that. You don't.
Yeah, no. Most of the templates will do it for you. I'm just saying, make sure you're actually double checking though. Just double check. Just make sure that it is still, it looks correct on
and sometimes
a mobile
what
device.
happens too, it's the same thing that happens in emails. If you're not checking the emails that you're sending to your customers on a mobile device as well to see what it looks like, because like Chelsea said, most people are now using their phones to check emails, look at websites, do all the things. I don't even know that some people own laptops anymore or desktops.
Yeah.
So here's the thing is, sometimes what happens is depending on if you use a font size that's too big, it shows up differently on your mobile device. And so that's why she's saying just double check, right? Make sure that the headers look okay on the mobile device and that the buttons appear where they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Make sure it's optimized for mobile. I'm glad that you said website too big. Like sometimes your website's too big because y'all, less is usually more. Clutter hurts your brain. Your website will be harder to download. I know that it's fun to add things, but let's try to be as efficient as possible when it comes to your website. Because again, the more stuff... Ooh, okay. Yes.
Chelsea, it just reminded me of this thing that I see a lot of, well, some people do, not a whole lot, but people that have a cluttered website, this is what I find that they do. What are those little Russian dolls? That's a doll within a doll within a doll.
Russian dolls?
No, they're called
called something. I mean, I know what you mean. I just call them Russian dolls. But yeah, it's the doll, then you take the doll out of the doll. Like it's,
Okay. So they will sometimes take information and they will like segment it so far and so granular that you have a topic upon a topic upon a topic. And so basically what that does, we want you guys to think of this from the user's experience, from the website visitor's experience. Okay. If I'm going on there and let's say that you're a cooking author, okay? You write cookbooks. If I'm going in for a recipe for an appetizer, but you have this particular app that I'm looking for to make, you have it 5 clicks in, like I have to click on 5 different things in order for me to get to the recipe. Ask me if I'm ever going to get there. No. Most people, like you said, that statistic, and I'd be curious because I hope I'm not making this up. I want to say that I read somewhere at some point that people will only go 2 to 3 clicks in. They're not going to click on stuff more than 2 to 3 times to find the information they need. So if you have some good information that's so embedded in your site that someone's taking 6 or 7 clicks to get there, I guarantee you nobody's seeing it.
Yeah. Kind of off topic. I love how you brought up you're a cookbook author. Why do people write their entire life story before getting to the recipe? Like, is that a website read? Like, is it SEO purposes? I don't understand.
It's a blog. It's because they're using it. Most of these recipes are pulled from blogs that people have. And so usually you want to give it some context, but notice that there's always, I love the ones that have a jump to the recipe button at the top because that's what I do. I'm like, I don't need to hear about how your daddy raised 7 horses. And then this is your your fig recipe for, I don't know what.
So we said less is more. You don't want it cluttered. You don't want it so embedded into your website. Love that. Also, it needs to be easy to navigate.
Yeah.
And that comes back to the 7 clicks thing. Like someone's not going to go searching through your website to find what they're looking for. If they don't find it fairly quickly, they'll just go to a different website.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing is when you're building a website, for one, you want it to do your business justice and you want it to be able to tell your story, but you also want to give a lot of thought or equally as much thought to what the customer is seeing and experiencing when they land on that page. And I know every single one of you out there that's listening to this has had this happen before where you get on a website and you're like, what the, like, I cannot even, like, you get off of it really quick because you're like, I'm not going to be able to find any of the information I need.
Absolutely. And that also ties in with map out your website before you start working on it.
Yeah.
And like you said, think about your customer, your consumer. What do they want to know? What's the information that they're going to want? So map it out so that you can build it to be easy to navigate.
I actually draw it out, to be honest with you. Like what I do whenever I'm creating.
That's what I mean by map it out. Like create a map.
Yeah, like I'll put at the top, you know, I'll use one piece of paper for the homepage and it's like, okay, what do you want the categories to be up in the menu bar at the top?
Yeah.
And then how many of those categories need subcategories? What are those subcategories? Then, you know, what do you want the header image to look like? What are the 3 things you want people to take away immediately? It helps to have this all up front because then, you know, like Chelsea said earlier, we have I think as humans, we always want to change things up, right? And so if I have my WordPress up and I don't have a clear game plan for what I'm doing, I'm going to sit there tinkering for all day, okay? For stuff that's like dumb. Like I just don't need to tinker with that. I don't need to be sitting there like, you know, looking at colors all that time. I need to be sure that I have all the information I need ready and good to go. And I think also having your verbiage already done is just going to be a lot less stressful because then you're just copy and pasting, right?
Yep. Yeah. Y'all, Vivian, when she redid this homepage, don't get me wrong, it looked really nice. It looked really nice. It's just not us. It was not us. The fonts were kind of funky. You couldn't read them very well. We all do it. Sometimes you just need someone to be like, and this was me to Vivian. I was like, no, no, this doesn't align with our branding. Well, it doesn't work.
I think first it was I love it. And then it was wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it was because it looked great. And that's what I want you guys to keep in mind. The design might be fantastic, but if it's not clear branding wise, like if it's not a clear branded design, then it's not going to work for you.
Yeah. And I think it's all of that to say it can look aesthetically pleasing, but still just not be the right fit.
Yes.
And so that's the whole thing is you just want to be sure that's consistent with what you're wanting to put out there. That doesn't mean that you can't change it up. Listen, y'all, you want to rebrand, you want to, you know, a fresh look, 100%. And that's the beauty of actually building your own website is that you don't have to wait for someone else to do it. The other thing I will say is if you guys even if you do have the budget to be able to hire someone to create your website, just understand that a website, we like to say, is a living, breathing thing, which means that you need to be updating it on the regular. And by regular, that changes depending on what industry you're in and what type of business you are. But for some of you out there, you need to be messing with your website maybe once a month. And so you want to be sure that when you're outsourcing that to somebody, that you still either have access to your website on the back end to be able to go update and change things as needed, or that you're willing to dish out the money to be able to pay someone to make those changes and revisions for you. So that's a very big component of what you need to be thinking about if you're outsourcing website creation.
Yes. If you decide that you're not going to outsource it, a great tip that we have, Vivian does this all the time. This is how she got on this entire redesign of the homepage. Look at other companies' websites. look at what they're doing that you think is right. Like when you see a well-designed website, you can tell. So if you find a website that you're like, oh man, I want my website to look like this, do not copy and paste, obviously, but use that as a launching point to build your own website.
Yeah, I think definitely I love the flexibility that you have whenever you're able to build your own website. And I promise you, using whether that be a Squarespace, I think Tonic is another one that does templates, Shopify, Wix, WordPress obviously is popular. And then also, I think Divi Builder is one of them. And there's another one that is, what is it? I can't remember, but there are a ton of them out there now that, you guys can utilize to just kind of build your own template. So I think it's definitely doable. You get way more efficient in it once you have it up and going. But if you're just not ready to, take on that expense of building one out through a professional web developer, then, you can get by until that's an option for you down the road. The one thing I did want to, say, Chelsea, too, is we talked about website speed and how that's really important. I don't want to close out this podcast episode without reminding people that every single one of us has access to a free Google tool that will tell you what your website speed is. So if you're listening out there and you have a website and you're like, I have no clue how fast my website is loading, go to developers.google.com/speed and then put in your website address and it will tell you, and it does this in a really great way. Red obviously means slow and bad. Green means, hey, pretty good, fast and good. Yellow means you need to do some work. And what I love about it is it actually will tell you some of the things that you can do to increase your website speed. So if you take anything from this episode today, take that. That is a free tool, if you've never used it, that Google gives you, that you can check your website speed. Because remember, people are not going to be on there for more than 2 seconds?
2 seconds.
2 seconds.
I'm adding another thing too before we close out, which is, we're talking about the cost related to hiring a web developer. There is still a cost that comes with building your own website. It's going to be significantly less than if you outsource that, but you still are going to be incurring a cost. Vivian, can you talk about the cost? Like what are you going to have to pay for if you create your own website as a small business?
We definitely don't want to be misleading. Just there is no such thing as putting a free website up, y'all. Not in 2024, because there's always going to be minimal cost to it. So things to consider if you are, or just know up front that this is money you'll invest in. Some of it is very few dollars. Other, stuff is going to be monthly costs that you incur. You need to have like a domain. Number one, right? So you can get a free domain through WP.com, but if you want to legitimize your business and you want something like theseasonmarketer.com or insert your business name here.com, then you need to go in there and you need to purchase it. And that can range anywhere from a couple dollars to sometimes I've seen them a couple hundred, depending on how popular that name is, right? Secondly, you're going to need a host platform. Okay. So basically, I use WordPress to build the website, but I do it through Bluehost because Bluehost is what provides me, the host platform is what provides me the security to make sure that my website doesn't get like hacked or anything crazy like that. And I can also do everything I need to for the design and stuff in WordPress through that. The other thing is the template. If you select a template, that may cost you money. There are some free templates out there, but some of the really good ones are going to cost you maybe like $67 or something along those lines. And then additionally, anything that's going to require like a plugin sometimes will cost you money. So for example, let's say that you want to be able to have some type of search function on your back end for staff members or something like that, okay? Or clothing. You can include plugins. Sometimes those plugins will cost you money. Or let's say you want a very specific plugin on the back end of your website for SEO. That may cost you like $6 a month, $15 a month. So it does add on as you go, but that's something that you can easily just keep track of so that you know how much a website will cost you, even if you're building it out on your own.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I just wanted us to be transparent about it. You know, you're still going to have to pay some money. Y'all, please don't skimp out on security either. Keep your website secure. You want your customers to feel confident that their information isn't going to get leaked or anything. And knowing that a website is secure is going to give you, once again, credibility. So
yeah, and little tip here, if you guys are like, I have no idea if my website's secure, if your website starts with HTTPS and then you have : / it's secure. That S is telling you it's secure. If your website name starts with HTTP and it's missing that S, your website's not secure. Okay.
Yeah.
And so the SSL certificate, that's what they call it. What that basically does, just so you guys know from a view, like from a website visitor's perspective, and you guys have probably had this happen to you. You go to Google, you search for something, you go to click on the website, and the page kind of turns black and it says, this page is not secure. Do you want to proceed?
Yeah.
Okay. If you don't have it secured, that's what it's going to look like to some people, depending on what their settings are on their computer. And so you just don't want to do that. So like Chelsea said, make it a habit that anytime you put a website up, you want to get that SSL certificate to make it secure.
I think that we hit everything. I want you guys to walk away from this saying, okay, I should have a website. Let me research what my budget is. Can I budget for the things that I will need to pay for when it comes to building my own website, or can I outsource it? The point is that if you do not have a website, I want you guys to seriously consider it. Seriously consider it. I'm not going to tell you straight up, do it. I want to, but I understand that everyone has different circumstances. So maybe you're not at that point yet, but I want you guys to get to that point.
Yeah, websites are definitely still a go in 2024. So if you've heard otherwise, please send those people to me so that so I can remind them that we're living in a digital world, and you guys, that is your digital real estate. Having your own website is having a digital home that you 100% have control over and can do whatever you want with. So be sure that you're taking full advantage of that. And just remember, we love platforms like Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and all these other social media platforms. We love them. They are such great tools for you to expand your audience and to draw people into your business. They also can go away tomorrow.
Yep.
And they can change the rules in 2 seconds on you. And so just be sure you always have a backup. Your website should be the one place that people know, like, hey, you know what? She deleted her Instagram profile. No problem. I can go submit a cake order on her website.
Yes. Well, guys, if you have any questions, if you're on YouTube, just leave us a comment. I think on Spotify, you can also leave us a comment. You can also DM us on any of the platforms. We are there at The Seasoned Marketer. You can also visit our website, theseasonedmarketer.com. We have all of our resources in one spot on our website. So all of our YouTube videos, all of these episodes, all of our free downloads, stuff like that. So make sure you go check out our website, leave us a 5-star review, and go be the best SOB you can be.